I hope this is the right place to post this. If it's not, feel free to guide me in the right place. I'm a bit confused and honestly bewildered. Let me explain. My name is Steve. It's not my real name, but I believe in anonymity. I'm the manager of a restaurant chain that specializes in breakfast food. I won't give the name, but the food is a grand slam. I work the night shift 5 days a week. The hours aren't that bad, but it sure drags from time to time, especially during the week. The weekends, however, the place can be popping during the early morning hours. For example, 3 weeks ago, a group of teenagers entered the establishment, visibly intoxicated, and proceeded to order a massive amount of food. They were so drunk, they picked fights with some of the other customers, and I had to physically remove them. Great times. For the most part, however, things are tame. There is an elderly couple that comes in almost every night around 11:30. They don't say much. Actually, the wife never talks. The husband orders the same thing every time: pot roast with mashed potatoes and an unsweetened tea. The wife never orders anything. Instead, she just sits there and watches the husband eat. I thought at first that she was just there to accompany her husband. But I started realizing just how strange this entire ordeal was. Every night at 11:30 on the dot, they'd come in. The husband would tip his hat to me, and I'd go ahead and just start the order of the pot roast with mashed potatoes. I'd bring his drink out, he'd smile, take a sip, and just sit there staring at his wife. The head cook, whom we'll call Dave, always had a theory that the wife was a prisoner or a slave, and he was just out here showing her off to assert his dominance. Yes, Dave smokes a lot of weed. It started to become routine for me every time I worked. They'd come in, I'd get the order started and watch as the husband ate while his wife just stared at him. He always left a $20 tip for the waiter, who was mainly me, so it was easy money. The old man was nice, his name was Edwin, but his wife, as I said, never spoke. Every time I went to speak to her, Edwin would just stare at me as if I had no business to talk to his wife. That's the last time I'd ever try to talk to her. As terrible as this sounds, I liked a constant $20 tip every night from the same guy. During the night shift as the manager, I also am the main waiter due to staffing cuts and whatnot. As I've said, it can get pretty hectic, but the staff I have, one cook, myself, and another waitress, Steph, we do a good job. I worked New Year's Eve night at the restaurant, and as I expected, it was a madhouse. Drunken idiots galore. Upper management did not even schedule correctly, and it was just myself, Steph, and Dave. We tried our best to get the food out as fast as we could, but we had our limitations. Some customers left. Some customers complained, but not Edwin. Edwin just sat there and waited patiently for his food. I brought out his food and drink, apologized profusely, but he just smiled and slipped me a $50 bill. He winked and nodded his head, telling me to take it. The rest of the night went better after the generosity of Edwin. Once things died down, I decided to take my 15-minute break and thank Edwin for his kindness, and formally introduce myself after all this time. Hello, sir. My name is Steve. I'm the night manager and waiter here. First of all, how was your food? Did it live up to your expectations?
Yes, thank you. Delicious as always, my son.
Great. I want to personally thank you for your generosity. That tip meant a lot to me.
No problem at all. I saw how busy you guys were and thought you deserved something nice for the new year.
I just came over to formally introduce myself, as I've seen you eat here almost every day. We've only talked once, I believe. Edwin, right?
Yes, that is my name, Edwin James Conkrell.
Well, Edwin, I said with a smile as I shook his hand, it's a pleasure to meet you. For a man pushing 80, his grip was surprisingly strong. So, sir, I've always wondered, what brings you here every night?
I beg your pardon?
Perhaps he didn't hear me, so I repeated, what brings you here every night? Edwin sat there, looked down at his empty plate, then back up to me.
It's a long story. I don't want to bore you.
There was a quick pause.
My wife and I ate at this restaurant since the day it opened. Every night we would come down here and enjoy the scenery and the food. Once my wife passed last year, I decided to come down here and continue the tradition. Sometimes I can feel her next to me.
I didn't know what to do or say for that matter. I just stared at him. He got up and stared directly at me.
Did you know my wife Ethel?
I was choked up. I somehow managed to shake my head as he patted me on my shoulder.
Shame. She was such a beautiful woman. Have a blessed day, Steve. I shall see you tomorrow.
He went to walk away, but for some reason I stopped him. Edwin?
Yes.
I walked up to him. I'm sorry for your loss.
It's quite all right, son. Thank you very much for your kind words and wonderful food. Tell your cook he does an amazing job.
We shook hands as he and his wife left. I always look forward to seeing Edwin every night. I hope he knows she is still with him wherever he goes.